Hello YouTube, it's Manny Raspberry with another video. So today we got an interesting video to react to. I'm actually pretty excited. I was just recently introduced to this whole situation. So obviously you read the title. We got a gentleman by the name of Trevor Bauer, previously played for the LA Dodgers. He was accused of SA and physical aggression by Miss Lindsey Hill. And obviously with these type of accusations, you know, you have the public ridicule, and he was suspended for 2 years and name slander, etc. So from what I've been told, it was given off Johnny Depp, Amber Heard type vibes, because there's been evidence that has come out that could mean that this guy's innocent. So we're not gonna do too much talking. Let's start reacting.
Yesterday, we discussed the conclusion of former Major League Baseball player Trevor Bauer's lawsuit stemming from an alleged sexual assault, and Bauer's recent video in which he released his side of the story with receipts. Joining me now to discuss that is Bauer's accuser herself, Lindsey Hill. Lindsey, I mentioned Bauer's video in which he provided some receipts that, I'm going to be honest with you, make you look like a clout chaser, or I know some people are calling you a cleat chaser, because admittedly you were chasing after several high-profile, wealthy baseball players. Trevor says everything was completely consensual. He also released these text messages that came out in court indicating that you had planned the whole thing out. So I want to read some of these texts from you to a friend between the two of you before you met Trevor, this one. Next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers. Okay. Victim is an interesting choice of words. I'm going to allow you a chance to explain yourself. But after you agreed to meet, you asked your friend what you should steal. Your friend answered his money. He says, another one from you to a friend, I'm going to his house Wednesday. I already have my hooks in. You know how I roll. With a screenshot in which you told him, tryouts don't scare me, Bauer. Pick a day and I am there.
Hold on. So by her saying my next victim, she's done this to other guys before, so this is not the first time she's been in this type of situation? Huh.
Here are some more after you and Trevor met up. Net worth is $51 million, to which your friend responds, bitch, you better secure that bag. Wow. Your text, need daddy to choke me out, being an absolute whore to try to get in on his $51 million. You say this wasn't a setup. How can you expect anyone to believe that?
Okay. Just that alone, damn. And it's interesting because this is not a unique situation. Very high profile athletes, even athletes that are not high profile, they go through things like this. This is not unique. Like, we pretend that there's not people out there that intentionally try to hook up with these people so they can accuse them of doing something so they can get a check. There's evil people out there. A lot of people with zero morality. Let's keep going.
That's a great question. I really appreciate you having me on to even have this conversation. Obviously, there's a lot going on around this, so I really appreciate people who are asking questions about it. The first thing I want to say is, you know, I think that Trevor did this intentionally with the text messages and how he framed this video. There's several things in it that are not correct. And I just want to start out by saying, you know, it's so valid for people to question those text messages. But the root of the problem here is that he is presenting this as one conversation, when in reality he had thousands of messages to choose from, took those, made it look sequential, which it was not. There is no combined screenshot of those things going on one after the other. And as I said last night as well, there's no time.
What, even if it wasn't sequential, if you said it in regards to, if you said it to another individual, even in whatever context you try to frame it, if he's the person you were talking about in those messages, it doesn't matter. It's still suspicious, effed up. I mean, at the very least. So let's keep going.
Text message that ever exists, otherwise he would have, you know, put it out there, combining, you know, anything about a setup through rough sex finances all in one. Those were handpicked, and they were from multiple different conversations all before we met up. And I think that.
So you admit that you did say that your friend did say, B, you better secure that bag, etc. It doesn't matter. That's predatory behavior. You're going after someone with the intention to use them for whatever reason. Clearly the money. And then if you say, I'm going to have him choke me out, what is that? Okay, let's keep going.
The video in general doesn't even talk about what actually happened between us two, which is what would have come out during a jury trial. These were all messages that happened before. And then, of course, the video is so valid as well for people to ask questions about. But I do think that video was entirely misleading. He also references the restraining order hearing, which people also have questions about. He says that he was cleared of any wrongdoing, which is actually incorrect. In our civil case, the judge had actually ruled that he had not been cleared of any wrongdoing, and that was a federal court judge. So
I want to get to the restraining order hearing as well, but I mean, so you're saying that it's misleading because you're admitting that you did talk about rough sex and wanting rough sex. You did talk about him needing to choke you out. You did talk about stealing his money, but it's misleading because he put them together in the same video as if you had said it in the same conversation when in fact it was separate conversations, correct? That's why it's misleading?
Correct, and as well as not showing the messages that occurred after where it discusses it strictly in the term of, being a baseball wife or something like that.
Or something like that. Okay. I'm just curious if you know like the statistical likelihood of you texting your friend premeditated texts saying you wanted him to choke you out and steal his money, take his money, and him actually choking you out, and those two things not being related?
It's a really, really valid question. And like I said, I think you would need to look through each conversation. Those were handpicked.
Just FYI, when you're talking to somebody, when you ask somebody a serious question and they constantly have to say, that's a very valid question. People say things like that, though that's a precursor to give somebody time to think of something to say. That's exactly what that is. So she's asking really, really tough questions, and she's trying to buy a little bit of time so she can think of a comeback, essentially.
But I can, like I said last night, completely own the fact that those were overly sarcastic, overly inappropriate to some may seem. And it does give off that impression about clout chaser and totally attention-seeking behavior. But I just feel that they have, nothing to do with what actually took place. But it does cause a lot of questions as to why I was, seeking Trevor out. But at the end of the day, there was nothing about a setup with violence and all of this stuff and getting financial gain. It was strictly, a 25 or however old I was at the time, girl trying to get attention from those things and phrasing it in a sarcastic way before we met. Okay,
so I've got a couple other questions on that. So you said in court that you on two different encounters, and you say the first time that you say he choked you unconscious. Clearly the insinuation is you didn't like it because now you're calling it an assault, but why did you make the drive back to LA to meet back up with him a second time if this man had just assaulted you by your own account?
Okay, I was under the impression that they met up one time and it was one encounter. So you're telling me that apparently this happened, you leave the situation and then you come back? So they met up twice? Or more? Let's keep going.
I think that's a really good question. How I phrased it and how I in the past is that I was so embarrassed by the first encounter that I felt something, deep in me to go and take the power back and to be better and to be what he wanted in a sense. And so I don't know. There's been a lot of, through all the processes, witness experts on the psychology of what happens when you are assaulted, XYZ. But there was something in me that felt like I needed to make it better in a sense.
Okay. But you texted Trevor before you met him, telling him you liked rough sex. Then you texted him after your first sexual encounter with him, which you now call an assault. And according to court records, you told him after that sexual encounter that you had, quote, never been more turned on in your life.
Oh my God. Okay. So, oh my God. Okay. So she's claiming that this SA took place and following the first encounter, proceed with it. Follow after the first encounter, you message the gentleman and you say that was, you compliment him on the interaction. Okay.
That's not really something that someone says when they were just assaulted.
I think it's a super valid question. Everything you're asking me is a super valid question.
I agree. That's why I'm asking them.
Totally. And I think that I'm not.
Hey, shout out to you for asking the tough questions. Oh, okay.
That's what expert witnesses are for in court in terms of the psychology behind that and responses to abuse and things like that. But like I said, I was just trying to make myself feel better about myself after what had happened the first time. After the first time I left without any markings on my body, my face was fine. I could go to work. And I thought that the second time, would be like the first time minus the things I told him I was not comfortable with.
Yeah, so you mentioned the markings on your body. I want to play a portion of his video in which he plays I would say, interesting video of you in his bed. Watch.
In August of 2021, Lindsey Hill's claims were heard in court. And during those legal proceedings, critical information was deliberately and unlawfully concealed from me and my legal team. Information like this video, which was taken by Lindsey Hill herself the morning after she claimed she was brutally attacked, emotionally traumatized, and desperate to get away from me. And now we have the metadata, so there can be no dispute. It was taken mere minutes before she left my house on the morning of May 16th, 2021, without my knowledge or consent, of course. In it, you can see her lying in bed next to me while I'm sleeping, smirking at the camera without a care in the world, or any marks on her face. I think it paints a pretty clear picture of what actually happened the evening of May 15th and why the video was originally concealed from us.
Lindsey, I think there are a lot of survivors who would say you don't look traumatized there and you don't look beaten. And this is allegedly after you say that he brutally attacked you and you had bruises all over your body. You had bruises all over your face. I don't see any bruises there. And I certainly don't see a woman who's just been traumatized by something horrible.
Again, super valid. I think that I woke up that morning and the best way to explain that video is I hadn't seen my entire body yet. I had no idea what had happened considering, I was unconscious for most of it. I had no idea what had happened to my full body.
But if it was that severe, wouldn't you already feel pain? Wouldn't you already have bruises on your face? I mean, you say that he punched you in the face, but where are the bruises?
Yep. I guess that's the end of the video. Sound like it's supposed to keep going. Either way. Wow. I have a lot to digest there. Okay. Apparently it's still ongoing. And so I'm going to just say this. Obviously you got to be, careful on what you say. If this is proven to be a situation that is not valid, one, you just spit in the face of the people who are truly victims of SA. And that is messed up on so many different levels. So whenever it truly happens to somebody, people are going to take these things less serious because of situations that are proven to be false. And we need to get to a point where when we have a false accusation and it's proven, whoever made the false accusation, they should be held accountable. People, listen, until we start holding people accountable, things will never change. People are going to keep doing it. And it's sad that you can ruin somebody's life. You can ruin their livelihood. They can work their whole life for something and it can be taken away in a blink of an eye because of a false accusation. And you're guilty until proven innocent. If it's proven, because it's still ongoing, that this is false, these people need to be held accountable. The same punishment that the accused would have faced, the accuser, false accuser, they should have to get that same punishment, if you ask me. Very interesting. I'm curious as to hear what you guys got to say about it. I'm still in disbelief. I'm still processing. Either way, if you guys liked it, let me know. If there's any other stories that are hot that you guys would like a reaction to, I got a link down below. Send me email. Let me know so I can react to it. Take a second. Don't forget, hit that like, subscribe. We're going to keep these things going. You guys have a lovely day. Until next time.